The white society's core power over black people has always been their ability to create false narratives about black people that facilitates their mistreatment of black people. This has always been the case. When they invaded Africa, they created the false narrative that Africans were uncivilized and therefore that they were civilizing we Africans. When they enslaved Africans, they created the false narrative that Africans were savages and that therefore their enslavement of Africans benefited us. These narratives still appears within many of our school textbooks. During slavery, when enslaved Africans tried to escape and were recaptured, they created the narrative that those enslaved Africans weren't running because of the awfulness of slavery, but because they were suffering from a mental disorder called drapetomania. It's true. The white society's practice of creating false narrative that justifies and facilitates their mistreatment of black people has never ended. It also creates false narratives that vilifies black people in order to falsely validate their past and present mistreatments of black people. Because of this nefarious practice, the majority of the public are functioning based upon a false negative perception of black people. Case, point, and proof. Most people presently believe that the largest benefactors of affirmative actions are black people. Moreover, they believe that it gives black people an unfair advantage over hardworking white people. That's the common narrative that we hear. However, the true reality is that the largest benefactors of affirmative action are in fact white women. Therefore, by extension, the white society benefits most from affirmative action. Many people also believe that black people are the largest recipient of welfare benefits. However, data shows that the largest recipient of welfare are in fact white people. Many people insist that black people commit most crimes and are waging a war on the police. However, FBI data shows that whites commit most crimes and most cops are killed by white men. The reason why many of you may have believed the opposite from what I've just disclosed, and may still find it to be a hard pill to swallow, is because of your functioning based upon what is called an illusory truth effect, also known as illusionary truth effect. The illusory truth effect is when people have been made to believe false information is true because of being constantly subjected to the false information. And they then begin functioning based upon the false information rather than the true reality. It's a true social science fact. This is our hidden reality. The public at large is currently functioning based upon an illusionary truth effect created by fraudulent narratives that have been repetitively and systematically fed into the society. Narratives that falsely exalt whites and falsely marginalize blacks. We are functioning based upon those false narratives rather than true reality. Repetition of lies it appears to be true. This illusionary truth effect was created by white social engineering scientists and white propagandists to sustain false assumptions within society that aids in maintaining white social dominance over black people. I never said that what I teach will be easy for all to comprehend. It will go over the heads of many that aren't ready to hear and learn the truth. I only promise that it will be the black liberating truth, the truth that will emancipate your mind from white mental slavery. That's all I promise. It will be the truth that will free your mind. If you're serious about emancipating your mind from white mental slavery, you've got to elevate your mind above a biblical fairy tale written by the most ungodliest people we've ever encountered. And you also have to elevate your mind above a slave syndrome myth, which presents what would be in fact the least effective method used for controlling generations of people. Those are falsehoods. You must instead learn about the true social sciences that are used for controlling people and that are used for steering society. Social science is one of the branches of science devoted to the study of human behavior, specifically how people interact with each other, behave, and develop as a culture. It's also used to shape and steer society toward the objective of the ruling class. The white society's core power over black people has always been their ability to create false narratives that serve their nefarious agendas against black people, and then impose those false narratives upon society, and then have the public at large function based upon those false narratives instead of what's actually true. White propagandists have fed lots of disinformation into the society that works against the interests of black people. The white society sits upon a throne of lies. According to white social scientists, truth is not important. True power lies in only what's perceived as being true for controlling people and for steering the society. Because people function based upon their perception of what's true rather than what actually is true. Therefore, the mere perception that the white society's lies are true gives them immense power over the masses. We Africans are the disorganized truth against the white society's well-organized lies. We must stop capitulating to the white society's lies. We must start pushing back against their lies by speaking our truths. We must speak the truth even if they label us as it is being hate. Truth always appears to be hate or is labeled as hate by those who benefit from the lies. We must teach the truth whether we're hated for it, berated for it, blocked for it, or we're unfriended for it. We must teach the truth whether it fills the room or clears it out. We must teach the truth because the truth will prevail. Maybe not immediately nor instantly, but if you keep repeating the truth, it will eventually prevail. This is because the truth has a vibrational frequency that's more powerful than any lie. All you have to do is keep repeatedly telling the truth, and it becomes highly disruptive to a society that sits upon a throne of lies. The truth is powerful when it's being constantly repeated. Learn the truth and repeat it. Virtually everything that you currently believe are lies that falsely exalts Caucasians. We must always question the validity of our perception when it's being exclusively controlled by those that have proven themselves as being the most notoriously deceitful and most notorious narcissistic people throughout history. Whenever such a group as this are the ones that are exclusively controlling all the narratives that the world believes, they'll always distort facts to serve their hidden nefarious agenda and to falsely exalt themselves. It's the way they are. It's the way they've always been. And it's the only way they know how to be. Case, point, and proof. By systematically feeding false narratives into the society that falsely exalts themselves, the white society have created the empowering perception that they're the most advanced race. This perception greatly aids the white society in maintaining its social dominance, but it's an elaborate white deception. The truth is, in fact, the opposite from what they've misled many to believe. They're actually primates masquerading themselves as being Homo sapiens. Their true scientific term is Homo sapien sapiens. Yes, I know how ridiculous this sounds. Whenever lies have been sold gradually to the masses over many generations, the truth will seem absolutely ridiculous and its speaker will sound like a raving lunatic. Nonetheless, those who know the truth must teach African proverb. The definition for Homo sapiens sapiens is stated simply as being modern humans that evolved from primates. They've given themselves a title that sounds very close to Homo sapiens because it allows them to more easily falsely pass themselves off as being Homo sapiens. If you're doubting this disclosure, it's because you don't know the facts. 2 studies published in the journal Nature that looked at a DNA fossil hidden in the modern human genome have scientifically confirmed that Caucasians are not African albinos that turn white due to migrating to the colder climate of Europe as they've claimed. They've instead inherited their skin color and their animalistic hair type from Neanderthal DNA. These same noted studies also confirm that Africans are the true Homo sapiens. African chocolate-colored skin and black woolly hair have been scientifically proven as being the direct result of Homo sapien DNA. Africans are the only true homogeneous human species, and the Darwin evolutionary theory chart does not apply to Africans. Unlike Caucasians, Africans did not evolve from lower primates, but have instead always been Homo sapiens. The implication of these findings are enormous. This means that although Caucasian shares more physical characteristics with the white Neanderthals of Europe than they presently do with we melanated Africans, they falsely separated themselves from the Neanderthals of Europe and falsely attached themselves onto we African Homo sapiens in order to falsely give themselves a Homo sapien origin and identity. Whenever those who clearly despises us so uncharacteristically turns around and makes a claim that they came from us, doing so is always a lie that somehow benefits themselves. Not only have they falsely attached themselves onto we Africans, they also falsely depict themselves as being the highest evolved Homo sapiens. They achieved this by whitewashing many historical facts to make their racial group appear more significant throughout history than they truly in fact were. This included turning many black historical figures white and giving their racial group credit for most achievements that were actually made by the African Homo sapiens. The name Homo sapiens means wise human. Homo is the Latin word for human or man, and sapiens is derived from a Latin word that means wise or astute. Africans are called the wise humans. This name is appropriate for Africans because Africans invented the wheel, the paper, the calendar, the concept of 24 hours in a day. Africans are the first to build in stone and to smelt metal. Africans introduced science, writing, math, and philosophy to the world. The world's oldest university, library, manuscript, encyclopedia, human prosthetic, mathematical tool, medical journal are all located in Africa. All of Greece's first scholars were educated by Africans. And long before the Europeans invaded Africa, it was Africans that civilized Europe. Africans introduced shaving, the use of toothpaste, perfume, fragrance oil, deodorant, and even introduced the daily bath to Europeans. Your perception of reality is a white deception. And in spite of cultural traumas wrought by the injustice of slavery and white racism, most inventions that have revolutionized the world were either in fact invented by black people or were directly inspired by early inventions by black people. Without black people, there would exist no internet, no cell phones. We wouldn't have cameras and microphones on our cell phones. We wouldn't have the accurate weather forecasting system. We wouldn't have the cataract laser removal scope. There would be no emails, no GPS, no hearing aids, no touch-tone phone, no caller ID, no home surveillance security system, no game cartridge, no motorized vehicles, no steam engines, no traffic lights, no working light bulbs, no elevators, therefore no skyscrapers, no air conditioning. We wouldn't have the modern color PC. There'd be no 3D movies, no central heating, no refrigerator, no helicopters, no washing machines, no lawnmowers, no dryers, no refrigerated trucks, no blood bank, no fiber optics, no nanotechnology, no female sanitary pads, no bathroom tissue holder, no pencil sharpeners, no tricycle, etc., etc. Quiet as is being kept, most inventions that have revolutionized the world were invented by black people. This fact is being deliberately kept from the public through the white society's monopoly over information. The truth of the matter is that white people invented the patent office and have always used it to steal the intellectual property rights from black people. This is because in order for black inventors to get their inventions mass produced, they have to go before white companies. These white companies acquires the right to the inventions and then places white faces in front of the technology. This scenario literally allows the white society to continue exploiting the genius minds of black people while maintaining the perception that most inventions are coming from the minds of Caucasians. It's a racist perception management system. Through this whitewashing practice, the collective self-image and self-esteem of Caucasians have been falsely bolstered at the expense of the collective self-image and collective self-esteem of black people. Your perception of reality is an elaborate white deception. This is all possible because public perception is not shaped based upon facts nor reality. Public perception of reality is shaped by the narratives that are fed into a society. Therefore, all that's required for the distortion of reality is to repetitively feed false narratives into society. Just keep repeating false narratives through media ads, falsely scripted movies, whitewash miseducation, and before long, everyone will then accept those lies and start functioning based upon those false narratives rather than the true reality. It's such an effective system that if you constantly fed the false narrative into a society, that nighttime is called daytime and that daytime is called nighttime, over generations, those lying words will eventually become the truth that the population functions based upon. The target population will begin calling daytime the nighttime and calling nighttime the daytime. The false narratives will eventually become the truth that the public function based upon. Likewise, because the white ruling class controls all of the narratives that are fed into a society, they therefore literally owns the perception of reality. They constantly feed false narrative into a society that distorts the perception of reality to be seen the way they want it to be seen. It's the real matrix. The real matrix is not a computer simulation. It's not a movie, nor does it have anything to do with a red pill. The real matrix is an elaborate illusory truth effect created by false narratives that the white society repeatedly feeds into the society, that falsely exalts their racial group while marginalizes us. It's a worldview grafted upon us through the white society's monopoly over narratives. More specifically, the real matrix is an elaborate perception management system. Perception management is a propaganda technique that involves altering the perception of reality to suit the objective of the ruling class. It's a well-proven system that is an essential part of modern information warfare. This disclosed perception management system, this black matrix perception management system, uses disinformation, which includes the distortion of many facts, the denial of truth, and even the manipulation of the past, to create and sustain false assumptions within the society that aids in maintaining white social dominance. The general population doesn't know what's happening, and it doesn't even know it doesn't know. Noam Chomsky said that. I just explained to you what the real matrix is. And as long as you keep your mind buried in the Bible or believe in Willie Lynch, you're going to die mentally enslaved by the white society. You're going to have lived your life going from the cradle to the grave, never knowing the truth. Therefore, your mind was never yours. You lived and died being the white society's mentally enslaved fool. Those of us who tell you the truth are trying to free you from a mental prison that you don't even know you're trapped within. One love and peace.